In this video, we'll be talking about a powerful storm system that will affect much of the country, bringing heavy rain, heavy snow, and in even some spots, severe weather. This could be significant. This is far out, but we're keeping an eye on it. If you live in these areas, you need to pay attention. This could be a big threat coming up. Hello everybody, Will here, back to talk to you guys about the weather. We got a lot to talk about. The storm system that's going to hit next week is still evolving. Models are still figuring things out. But what we know right now is there's going to be an area of heavy snow, there's going to be a lot of rain, and on the southern end of things, there's going to be a potential for severe weather. And the last few model runs have been increasing that confidence. It's been showing conditions more favorable for severe weather development. And the Storm Prediction Center has already issued outlooks almost a week in advance, which is pretty significant. That means that they also have pretty high confidence that severe weather is going to happen. Let's look at the models. So currently we have that Clipper system moving through the Great Lakes, bringing light to moderate snow through the area. But that's not too big of a deal, nothing unusual for this time of year. As we go through the day today, that moves out of here, and then we get some light snow developing in parts of the south on Saturday, over in Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. This is going to be very, very light snow, if it even sticks. You might see a few flakes in the air, but temperatures are going to be above freezing, so there's not going to be any travel issues or anything. But a few places could see some snow falling, which could be pretty cool if you don't see it too often. Saturday into Sunday kind of scoots up to the northeast. Models have been showing this little area of light to moderate snow through the mid-Atlantic to the northeast. There could be some areas that receive maybe an inch or two of snow, but it shouldn't be bad. Then our big story happens. This upper level low dives south. You can see it right here. It's going to dive south, and as it does so, it begins to strengthen. And then it moves across Arizona into parts of New Mexico, bringing some light to moderate snow. And there's a lot of light to moderate snow through the Rocky Mountains, as well as some light to moderate snow across parts of Iowa, up into Wisconsin, into Michigan, up into Canada. And that all has to do with this low pressure right here that's strengthening. As it starts to slide up to the northeast as we go later into Thursday, it begins to strengthen. Widespread snow breaks out on the northern end of things, a lot of rain in the middle, and in this area on the south side there's going to be a severe weather threat. As we go later through Thursday, that heavy snow band slides up to the northeast. And just on the northern and western side of this low, there's going to be this heavy deformation band. And that's where the highest totals are going to be. And that really depends on where the track of the low is. And then by late Thursday and early Friday, it moves out of here and another quiet pattern begins. But it's only temporary as more storms are moving into the longer range. But we won't get into that right now. As for snow totals right now, this model is showing a big swath of anywhere from 3 inches to over a foot. Anywhere up from Kansas through Iowa up into Wisconsin and Michigan. Now for comparison, we'll look at the last few model runs. And they all have this area of heavy snow. It's just the exact placement of it is kind of shifting around right now. Moving north to the south, wobbling wherever this track of the low goes. Someone in this circle should get a lot of snow. It's impossible to pinpoint exactly where this is, and we'll have to get a little bit closer before we start determining exact locations. But if you're in this red circle, keep your eye on this, because you could get some heavy snow. Or you might be 50 miles away from getting a foot of snow versus getting a dusting of snow. There's going to be a pretty tight gradient with this. Meanwhile, on the southern end of things, severe weather is going to be a big story. The Storm Prediction Center has already issued a 15% risk. I will show that in just a few minutes, for both Wednesday and Thursday across portions of this area. And the reason is because this low pressure has a cold front right here, and there is a warm front up here, and this warm sector has warm, moist air. And this low pressure system is bringing in a lot of wind shear. And wind shear basically helps support updrafts. Updrafts are what builds a storm up. And if there's no wind shear, basically they're just going to collapse after a while. Almost like a summertime thunderstorm. They only last like 15 minutes and they're gone. But if you have wind shear, it helps to sustain these updrafts, keep them up, and help them strengthen into severe weather. So wind shear is very important. If we look at the 850 millibar wind shear, that's a few miles up into the atmosphere. There is a lot of wind shear through here. We're talking 60 to 80 knots. That is more than enough for severe weather, and it's pretty widespread across the area. So we know we're going to have wind shear. That's one of the important things in severe weather. Another very important thing is going to be lift, and we have that. And that is going to be our cold front through here. That cold front basically pushes this warm air up because cold air is denser and is lower to the surface. And then that warm air rises and becomes clouds and soon into thunderstorms and severe weather in some cases. Now if we look at moisture here, we got quite a bit of it. As we go into early Thursday, these dew points start increasing into the mid to upper 60s in these spots, which is enough for severe weather. It is marginal, but if it's a few degrees higher, the severe threat increases quite a bit. If we go over and look at the convective available potential energy, the fuel for the thunderstorms, on Wednesday there's an area of higher amounts through Texas into parts of Oklahoma, up to 1,000 in some spots. That's not a whole lot, but it's enough for severe weather. And as we go into Thursday, there's another area of higher amounts down in Louisiana, eastern Texas, and parts of southern Arkansas. These values are pretty marginal for severe weather, but this is what we call a high shear low cape setup. Basically, there's plenty of wind for severe thunderstorms, but there's not really a whole lot of cape, which is the energy for storms to form. But this is the case where there's so much wind shear that it kind of overcomes the factor of not having enough energy. That wind shear almost makes up for the lack of it. And if the instability were to trend upwards as we get closer to this event, we're talking a pretty significant event. I don't want to mention the word outbreak yet, but with the amount of wind shear, and if this instability increases, we could be using that word soon. It's just something to monitor for now. Now we'll go over to the European model, which is a little bit different. So the European model has the placement and strength of the storm a little bit differently. The warm front's up here, we have the cold front down here. Out ahead of it we have temperatures in the 70s. And our dew points are a little bit higher. Right where this dry line is, this is where the storms are going to form along this dry line. We have dew points in the mid to upper 60s, which is a bit higher than the GFS. So if you go over to your Cape and look at that, because of these higher dew points, there's more instability and it's a little bit more widespread. It's farther up into Arkansas, parts of Mississippi, parts of eastern Texas, and a lot of Louisiana. And if we look at the wind shear, it's even stronger across this area. And this model right here is basically predicting where the lightning is going to be. So our main event right here, this is Thursday early in the morning. As we go later into the day, it really starts to increase in coverage across this area. And with some instability and wind shear, that's pretty supportive of severe weather. Precipitation with this storm, anywhere from 1 to 2 inches. These areas down here in a pretty significant drought in spots, so this should do nothing but help. However, we don't really want the severe weather, but that's coming along with it. And finally, here's the severe weather outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. This is for Wednesday, and they have that slight risk outlined for parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and northwestern Louisiana. This is where the highest confidence is for severe weather. And here's the forecast for Thursday. It spreads to the east a bit, getting much of Arkansas, much of Mississippi, western Tennessee, western Kentucky, northwestern Alabama, and much of north and central Louisiana. And the fact that they've already issued a risk almost a week out is pretty concerning. We're going to have to watch the trends with the moisture and the instability. We got plenty of wind shear, but if those other two factors were to increase, we'd be talking a pretty significant severe weather event. For now, we're just going to keep our eyes on it, but it's always better to be prepared. That's all I got for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new, be sure to smash that like button. It really helps the channel out. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Share with your friends and family, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.